Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Anil Thomas. Coming up in the next hour. Close on the heels of a successful moon mission, the countdown is on for the launch of India's space agency's solar mission, Aditya L1, on Saturday. Indian government sets up a committee to come up with suggestions on a new one nation, one election poll structure where parliamentary and all state polls will be held together. India's capital, New Delhi, decked up to welcome heads of state and delegates for the upcoming G20 summit. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hails the crossing of 10 billion UPI transactions in the month of August, says it's a testament to the people of India embracing digital progress and a tribute to their skills. And rain threat looms large over the high-octane India-Pakistan clash on Soup on Saturday in the island nation. India's latest warship, Mahindragiri, was launched at the Maasai Dock Shipbuilders Limited in Mumbai on Friday. Mahindragiri, named after a mountain peak in Odisha's eastern Ghats, is the seventh and last ship of India's Project 17A fighters. Mihir has more.
A made-in-India milestone. India's defense sector has revealed the country's latest warship, Mahindragiri, the seventh stealth frigate of the Indian Navy. It was inaugurated on Friday by Sudesh Dhankar, the wife of India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, at the Maasai Dock Shipbuilders Limited in Mumbai. This latest frigates have improved stealth features, advanced weapons and sensors, and platform management. The design of these advanced stealth frigates showcases the capability of the Warship Design Bureau in designing technologically advanced warships for India's naval force. The Vice President of India was the chief guest at the event. He highlighted that the launch of Mahindragiri is a significant milestone in India's maritime history.
We stand for peace, harmony, global development. Our Navy has been a vehicle of peace and goodwill during crisis. Under the overarching vision of Sagar, which means security and growth for all in the region, India is cooperating with multiple partners to ensure economic growth and security in the region, while also tackling threats.
The launch of this advanced defense equipment highlights India's indigenous expertise and engineering capabilities. It reduces India's dependence on foreign suppliers and promotes self-reliance in India's defense sector. Mihir Makri for DD India.
Well, after the successful soft landing of Chandrayaan-3, Indian Space Agency ISRO is now set to launch the country's maiden solar mission, Aditya L1, on Saturday. Aditya L1 spacecraft is designed to provide remote observations of the solar corona and ensued observations of the solar wind at L1, which is about 1.5 million kilometers from the Earth. Aisha Khanam has more.
Aditya L1 is all set to take off from Satish Dhawan Space Center spaceport from Sriharikota. The countdown has begun, which will blast the mission to reach in L1 late-range halo orbit of the Sun in over 4 months. These are the scientists at the Indian Institute of Astrophysics who are looking forward to the launch, as the largest payload in the mission VLC is designed by them. This payload, besides other 6 payloads, will study the plasma, magnetic field and coronal emissions, which are referred as sun flares.
Once it reaches the L1, there is Lagrange one point in the space. So after some stipulated days of the time when all the other payloads, contaminations and other things are settled down, then this door will be opened. This door, entrance aperture door, will be opened. This will be deployed this way, and then our heaters will be turned on. inside. So our decontamination heater will heat all these elements inside, and whatever it has accumulated during the journey, that will be blown off.
And after the launch, it reaches the orbit. Within 20 minutes, it goes to the orbit. From there, this cruise phase will start. So the cruise phase will be around 108 days to 109 days to reach that L1 intended orbit. Once if it is reached there, and we will be starting this calibration procedures. There is a set of procedure to open the multi-operational door to take the first image of the sun.
We will operate the electronics step by step. So since it has 4 detectors, so we will operate the detectors one by one, check the basic health of detector, are they functioning, they are recording the data, and data is coming seamlessly through the ground. So one by one this is done. So we have linear scan mechanism retarder also inside. The air motion also will be checked step by step. That's why the professor also told, or it is told, at the end of February, when everything we see, everything is working properly, we will getting the images of the sun, solar corona, in the end of the February.
While the principal investigator of the VLC project, Dr. Jagdev Singh, says the study of the sun is important to throw light on mystery of solar activities inside the sun surface. The IIA will start receiving data and pictures of the corona activities and solar flares relayed by the camera on board the VLC.
These are the astrophysicists who are working on this payload, and this payload will definitely throw light on the mysteries that is there within the sun and the activities within the sun, and perhaps this will be a milestone in India's quest for reaching closer to sun.
Over 1400 pictures a day can be received, which means a huge tranche of data can be gathered with this payload.
Once the raw data comes to this center, the VLC part of the data alone will be coming to IIA, to the payload operation center. And here our astronomers will be applying the algorithms we have been developing to analyze, to kind of make the data fit for scientific analysis.
The major science objectives of Aditya L1 are to study coronal heating and solar wind acceleration, solar atmosphere, and solar wind distribution and temperature anisotropy. The project also includes solar mass ejections. The change in electromagnetic field due to the sun's activity may lead to damage to the satellites in space and also cause power outages in electrical and communication network on Earth. Aditya L1 will unravel the mystery behind all these events. ISRO is the third agency after NASA and ESA undertaking similar missions. Asha Khanam for DD India, Bangalore.
Well, Indian government has formed a panel to explore the possibility of one nation, one election. It aims at holding of general and state elections simultaneously.
In a significant move towards fostering democratic dialogue, the Indian government has decided to create a committee to discuss one nation, one election. This committee is set to bring together various stakeholders and the public to engage in discussions, gather insights and seek suggestions. The committee's formation was announced by the Indian Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi. He emphasized that any action will only happen after extensive deliberations and discussions.
पार्लियामेंट में जब आता है, पार्लियामेंट में चर्चा होगा। पार्लियामेंट प्रबुद्ध है, भारत देश का प्रजाप्रभुत्व एकदम मैच्योर्ड है, प्रबुद्ध प्रजाप्रभुत्व है, उसमें चर्चा होगा। इतना घबराने का क्या बात है? हम देश दुनिया के बहुत बड़ा प्रजाप्रभुत्व, वी आर द लार्जेस्ट डेमोक्रेसी ऑफ द वर्ल्ड.
The ruling BJP party's chief JP Nadda today met former Indian President Ramnath Kovind to explore feasibility of the one nation, one election scheme. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi raised the idea back in 2020. He said that one nation, one election is not just a matter of debate, it is needed in India to save time and money. And several regional leaders are in support.
वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन के लिए जो कमेटी बनी है, इसके अध्यक्ष पूर्व राष्ट्रपति माननीय श्री रामनाथ कोविंद जी को की अध्यक्षता में बनी है. वन नेशन वन इलेक्शन ही आज की आवश्यकता है.
The discussion has created divisions as some opposition leaders are in support while others have criticized it. In 2018, the Law Commission suggested that holding simultaneous elections in the lower house and the state assemblies would save public money and free up space for the administration to focus on other development projects. Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
Well, after India, countries like the Philippines, Malaysia and Taiwan have rejected as baseless a map released by China that denotes its claim to sovereignty, including in the South China Sea. The Philippines on Thursday called on China to act responsibly and abide by its obligations under international law and a 2016 arbitral ruling that has declared the line has no legal grounds. While Malaysia filed a diplomatic protest over the map, Malaysia in a statement said that the new map holds no binding authority over it. India had on Tuesday lodged a strong protest with China over a new map that lays claim to India's territory. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has celebrated India reaching 10 billion digital transactions. India's National Payments Corporation revealed the number of UPI transactions crossing the milestone mark last month. UPI is a digital payment system developed by the NPC, an organization for all retail payment systems in India. Well, let's take a look at some other stories making news. The Indian government has introduced an invoice incentive scheme, Mera Bill, Mera Adhikar. The objective is to bring a behavioral change in the general public to ask for a bill as their right and entitlement. The scheme has been initially launched as a pilot in selected states and union territories and will give an attractive reward of $10 million to the customers in a lucky draw. As India's defence sector is heading towards self-reliance, Indian warship Mahindragiri has been launched in Mumbai on Friday. The warship has been named after a mountain peak in the eastern Ghats located in Indian eastern state of Odisha. Mahindragiri is a technologically advanced warship and stands as a symbol of India's determination to embrace its rich naval heritage. The flood situation in India's northeastern state of Assam is still grim, as over 400,000 people have been affected in around 19 districts. 9 relief camps with over 100 relief distribution centers have been opened to serve flood-affected people. The State Disaster Relief Force and local administration team deployed several boats and medical teams on the ground to help with rescue efforts. Japan, meanwhile, continues to dampen out opposition against its move to release radioactive water into the sea. U.S. Ambassador to Japan, Rahm Emanuel, visited the Fukushima region on Thursday, extending support to Japan against Chinese action. Japanese officials have signaled the possibility of diplomatic action to urge China to lift its ban, including filing a World Trade Organization complaint. This, Japan says, is not based on scientific evidence. DD India's Andrew Wood has more.
I don't think Japan has many friends over the decision to release the radioactive water, and it certainly seems to have lost a lot of goodwill, I think, as a result of it. It's quite easy, relatively speaking, I think, for the Americans to show solidarity with the Japanese, if you're being cynical, because, of course, if the water is released off the coast of Japan, that's on the other side of the world to America. But nevertheless, Japan and America, they are good allies. They've gone back a long way. So it doesn't take a lot for Washington to send an ambassador to eat some seafood with the local mayor and to reinforce the fact that America believes that the scientific evidence is such that the release of the water is not going to cause any particular ecological or environmental or harm to human health. The American ambassador to Japan reinforced the view that, well, he said that China's complaint about the release of the water is economic coercion. He reckoned it wasn't based on scientific evidence. And that's what the Japanese government have been saying as well. They've spent a lot of time, they say, working with scientists, working with environmentalists to work out whether this is going to cause harm or not, and they say it isn't. I don't think that taking it to the World Trade Organization is going to make much difference. The World Trade Organization takes a very long time to decide whether, in this case, whether the restrictions are lawful or not, or reasonable or not. The idea is that sometimes countries will put restrictions on trade, not for real reasons, but because they want to protect their own industries. And in this case, I think there's a fairly good argument that China is perhaps using some form of economic coercion there. But at the same time, it's going to be years before the World Trade Organization makes up its mind. And then, of course, China may decide not to obey what the World Trade Organization says anyway. So I don't think there's much likelihood of Beijing blinking anytime soon on this.
But still to come on DD India News Hour. Ratings agencies Moody's says India's economy is set to boom with a higher than expected growth rate for 2023. Singapore holds its first contested presidential election on Friday in 12 years.
This is the third such gathering where opposition parties under one umbrella have gathered to challenge Narendra Modi after nearly 10 years of unchallenged rule.
The unity or semblance of unity itself is an achievement, that there is been, from 26 to 28 parties and not 26 to 24 and 22 or 20 parties. So there is addition, no subtraction.
For Mamata Banerjee and Nitish Kumar or any other leader, Arvind Kejriwal, they can only hope that Congress gets enough for a formation of a non-BJP government, but not so much that their own ambitions are dashed.
Movement of leaders in a bloc does not mean movement of voters. So let us be very clear, because our voters...
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Anil Thomas. Let's first now talk about the mega build-up to the G20 summit in the national capital, New Delhi. India's capital, New Delhi, is set for the G20 summit set to take place on September 9th and 10th. Preparations to beautify the city are underway with illuminated fountains, floral boards and much more being installed. Siddharth Bharadwaj has filed this special report.
Fountains lit up with multicolored lights and everywhere lush greenery. India's national capital, New Delhi, is being transformed to welcome the heads of over 40 states when the G20 summit begins on September the 9th. From small gardens to main highways, Delhi is aiming to show its best face to the world. India, a country with strong economic growth, is ready to host hundreds of delegates arriving to discuss the global economy. The iconic G20 logo is everywhere here. But it's hoped this will be a summit of substance, not just symbol. Flags on poles, one that India can be proud of. There is certainly pride in the pots and plants. The authorities say over 100,000 potted plants, 3,000 fully grown trees and over 4 million saplings have been planted in the central Delhi area in preparation for this summit. There are new sculptures too. Around 20 have been installed at 12 key districts along with 12 fountains. And it's hoped that long after the summit is over, the new flowers and fountains will benefit everyone in Delhi, a lasting legacy and a beautiful memory of a historic summit.
India's theme for G20 is Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which means the world is one family. Here in the national capital, they are working very hard to welcome the leaders of the G20 nations. The authorities are leaving no stone unturned to make the city more beautiful than ever. From unique art installations to tall fountains surrounded by lush greenery, the city is expected to look better and brighter when the summit begins on September 9th. With camera person Mahesh, this is Siddharth for DD India, New Delhi.
Well, as India gears up to host the G20 summit, the New Delhi civic body has set up a control and command center to monitor all civic activities in the New Delhi area. DD India correspondent Dibendu Mondal spoke to NDMC Vice Chairman Satish Upadhyay to know more about the plan. Let's listen in.
As India is gearing up to host the G20 summit, we are here at the New Delhi Municipal Council Command and Control Center. This is being termed as the third eye, which will monitor all the activities around the New Delhi area. Remember, New Delhi area is the key area where all the events of G20 will be held. Even the hotels where the foreign dignitaries and delegates will be staying will be in the New Delhi area. I'm joined by Vice Chairman Satish Upadhyay ji, who will tell us more about this particular center, what this center will be doing, and what all preparations the NDMC has done in order to ensure security and safety for all the G20 delegates. Satish ji, what are the preparations? What is this command center about?
See, this control and command center right now here is 50 people are working day and night. And they can monitor various activities from the 360-degree cameras. We have installed more than 450 cameras in the NDMC area. They can see the movement of traffic. They can see the movement of parking lots. They can see the movement of our lighting, what are there. If some default is there, they can already rectify it. And we can monitor our garbage management system also, solid waste management system also. And we can always monitor any kind of illegal activities or person or vehicles are coming. So we can always inform to Delhi Police or Delhi Traffic Police.
So this camera, which you have given us a demonstration also, will be able to detect the vehicles, as you said, unwanted people. So how are you, once you detect unwanted movement or unwanted vehicle or any suspicious thing, how are you going to inform the Delhi police?
So we have a hotline with us. We have a hotline with us. We can always, if we find anything objectionable, we can always tell to traffic police or Delhi police about the movement, and they can always take the action.
Okay. So the NDMC area also has a number of hotels where the delegates will be staying. What preparations in terms of cleanliness, in terms of beautification have the NDMC taken, and also importantly waste management?
See, as far as beautification is concerned, we have planted more than 50 lakhs of shrubs. We have planted 1 lakhs of potted plants. We have planted 3,000 big trees. We have done so many roundabouts in a beautiful manner. We have done, many sculptures and water fountains are there. And the underground bins we have sensor in these, and all the vehicles have GPS system. When they are over, we get the SMS alert and we immediately clear it. We have given 3,000 employees a special uniform and identification. So they are working for the as electrician, as cleanliness worker, as maintenance and everything. So 3,000 employees will be there on the road.
As you heard from Satish Upadhyay ji about how New Delhi Municipal Council is preparing for hosting the G20 delegates, and this is a humongous task for the organization to ensure safety, cleanliness and security of all the delegates visiting here. With camera person Manmohan, this is Dibendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Well, our coverage on G20 continues. Women-led development is one of the focus areas of India's G20 presidency. The nation is hoping to use the forum to promote inclusive growth and development. This includes stress on selecting more women for leadership roles and boosting women participation across all sectors. Jessica Taneja has the details.
From the kitchen to the office, from the corridors of power to the boardroom, more women than ever before are opening the doors to work and to a brighter future.
Is this role across India?
Devi Raju Chintalapati says she never thought of doing a 9-to-5 job. Just a year ago, she didn't know how to type or even access the internet.
I started my first innings at the age of 50.
So after my children married and my husband is working, so I feel bored and I wanted to work. So I already done, it's 50 years in my household works, everything perfect. But I need to work. That time I don't know how to use a laptop and how to open a laptop and how to communicate in English or Hindi.
That's all changed. Devi was hired by one of India's leading talent recruitment firms.
In just 1 year, she became a business development expert.
Devi is pitching new clients, she's making presentations, she's closing the deals. With the right attitudes, skills can be taught.
While society narrows down homemaking to a handful of stereotypes, Devi is determined to defy odds and continue working.
Last 1 year, I recruited 50 people. In that, 60% are women.
Domain knowledge, not only of the talent.
While women are still a minority in India's boardrooms, this organization boasts of a workforce that's 85% women.
We've given them an environment where not only people like Shanti, Eva, Devi, but many more women who work for our organization have flourished. They've not only done well and reached their potential, they are now recruiting a lot of women for all the clients that we work for, and hope they will create an environment in the future, and this will be women's age.
According to the Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, more than 90% of working age women aren't even looking for a job. But here, women are recruited in automotive and manufacturing industries, which are traditionally dominated by men. They go on to become not just factory workers, but also managers, CFOs and CTOs in the future. But the hard fact remains, fewer than 1 in 5 women work in the formal sector. And that's according to World Bank figures. India will be able to increase female workforce participation if it can find a way to tackle deep-seated prejudices. Jessica Thaneja for DD India.
Well, women-led deliberations are at the center stage in G20 for India. In the past, G20 never saw participation of women from rural or humble backgrounds. But under India's presidency, such women have found a voice in G20. In Tanzania, more and more Maasai women are leaving the savannas for a better life in the bustling city of Dar es Salaam. This shift marks a significant diversification, of livelihoods as these women seek to contribute cash to their households. DD India's Daniel Kijo has more.
These beads may be tiny, but they provide a livelihood for Happy Kibonke. She has left her traditional pastoralist lifestyle behind in Manyara and ventured into the city to engage in bead business. Big cities are competitive, but Happy says she's breaking traditional gender norms in exchange for a better income.
There is a big difference between Manyara and here. Back home, I had very little income. You have to maybe sell a cow to get money. But here in the city, I use my hands, make something, and get money.
According to the Journal of Geographic Association of Tanzania, more than half of the Maasai women who move to Dar es Salaam use their income for buying food and other domestic goods, including paying for school expenses for their families in rural areas. Experts in gender issues say women reinvest in their families.
When a woman succeeds, the benefits are shared by her household and even the society around her. We want women to have more opportunities because their success helps others.
While Maasai women in urban cities are free from conventional roles of women in pastoralist societies, back home, Maasai women have no right to own property or livestock, have very limited access to education, and lack power to make decisions about their own lives. But the city brings new challenges, as most municipalities have not yet carved out a place for these nomadic business women.
When we work on the road, sometimes we get chased by the municipality, saying that it's not a proper place to do business. Things like that are a challenge.
Happy says coming to Dar helped her break away from a patriarchal system. While the Maasai have proudly maintained their traditional lifestyle and cultural identity, pressures of the modern world are changing their way of life. It's hoped that as much as they earn more for their families in urban cities, they don't lose who they are and what has given them worldwide recognition for being one of the most unique tribes in Africa. Daniel Kijo in Dar es Salaam reporting for DD India.
Well, still to come on DD India News Hour. The wall of shame separating the haves and the have-nots in Peru's Lima comes crashing down. Gabon's main opposition issues call to mount pressure on the junta to hand back power to the people after the coup. And rain threat looms large in the Super Saturday cricketing thriller between India and Pakistan.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Anil Thomas. A quick recap of the headlines. The official countdown for India's ambitious solar mission, the Aditya L1, is underway. The launch is scheduled on Saturday at 11:50 a.m. Indian Standard Time. Rating agency Moody's says India's economy looks set to boom with a higher than expected projected growth of 6.7% for 2023. A committee has been constituted for discussions on the issue of one nation, one election in India. Well, our G20 coverage continues. The facelift of Delhi to welcome the G20 delegates has been appreciated by the diplomats as well. The Mexican ambassador to India, Federico Salas Lopfe, said that India has done a great job in raising voice of the global south and also showcasing its rich cultural heritage during the 60-odd ministerial group meetings. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke to the Mexican diplomat. Let's take a listen.
The countdown has begun for G20 and Delhi is all decked up for the mega event, and I have with me the ambassador from Mexico. Let's talk to him and find out how does he feel about this change in Delhi.
Well, you know, it's certainly nice to see how they have decked up the city in many parts, especially the central part of the city. There has been a process of beautification, I should say, and that's very good. And I think it's very good for the people that live in the city to see it so clean and so beautified. I mean, there's new statues. The gardens are all looking perfect, and I think it's a great thing.
Well, absolutely. And the motto of G20: One Earth, One Family, One Future. Right. So under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has always been raising the voice of global South. What do you have to say on that?
Well, I think it has been a very important initiative by the Prime Minister of India. As you remember, in January, he held a conference with about 125 leaders from what they call the Global South, what is called the Global South. And the idea, of course, was to hear what are their concerns, what are their priorities, so that India could bring that to the table of the discussions.
When you talk about different group meetings, you've been there in Siliguri, Darjeeling, where I met you last time. So What is your impression about India?
Well, I think it was a very good thing that India has done, which is to take the G20 all around the country. I think something like 56 cities or something like that were chosen for different meetings that took place. And at least in the ones that I went to, I think it was very important to see also, cities and places that had been, refurbished to receive the visitors from the G20. And obviously people were very happy to receive all of us of the different countries in their site.
Well, absolutely, that's the right thing to do. And on that very positive note, we thank you, Your Excellency. And yes, we look forward to the mega event. The world would be coming to Delhi, and Delhi is all ready to host everybody. With cameraman Mohit, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India, Delhi.
Well, India's economy looks set to boom with a higher than expected projected growth of 6.7% for the year 2023. Global rating agencies Moody released the figures today, with the forecast even higher than the Indian Reserve Bank's prediction of 6.5%. The first quarter of the current fiscal year has already seen a 7.8% boost, which is being credited to strong services expansion and capital expenditures. But Moody's highlighted that food prices could remain high due to a below-average rainfall forecast in the monsoon season, and the agricultural commodity prices are also likely to shoot up if El Nino proves to be particularly strong in the second half of this year and heading into 2024. Well, Indian Navy has launched that top story there that we're launching that technologically advanced warship Mahindragiri. And to get a perspective on what that means for Indian defense, joining us two experts in the studios, Ajay Banerjee, senior defense correspondent, joining us in the studios. We've also got one more expert there joining us online. That's Captain Alok Bansal, expert on security and maritime issues, joining us online. Let me first quickly get a reaction there, an opening reaction from Ajay Banerjee. Ajay, looking at all that's been spoken about, is it another symbol purely of self-reliance, Atmanirbharta, that we have been talking about for long?
It's deeper than that. I'll put it in 2-3 little packets. First of all, the launch of the Mahindragiri is the 7th warship of the Nilgiri class. It's the stealth frigate. Now, coming to the pace of warship construction, why it is being discussed in this manner. We have been making warships for around 30-40 years, but this warship, more than just its potency, the importance is the pace of warship building. In the past 15 months, since May last year till now, 15 months, we have launched 5 of such ships at sea. Launch, to tell your viewers, does not mean commissioning. Commissioning will take a few more years to do that. But at the moment, the pace of the warship, how it has increased is, Project 17, the Shivalik class, used to take around 9 to 10 years to make. The Nilgiri is the first of the Nilgiri class. This one, Mahindragiri, is a Nilgiri class. Will come out in 6.5 years. The last 4 warships will come in 5 years. So that is the pace we have gone. That is the important part of this project. Besides the modernity of the ship and its fighting prowess, this is the key point in it.
Captain Alok Bansal, how would you look at this warship in particular? Is it a follow-on to the Project 17 that we have been speaking about, this particular Project 17A?
The Project 17 Alpha is firstly an in-house designed frigate, which was designed by Warship Design Bureau, which was earlier known as Director Naval Design. And there are 7 ships that are being constructed. The most important factor is that this is the first modular construction in India. And this particular project is being built at 2 different shipyards. 3 are being built in GRSC and 4 in Mazagon docks. And consequently, we saw just a few days earlier, President launched another ship of the same class in Calcutta, and now this is launched by Mrs. Dhankar in Mob Bay. Now, this ship has a very, very low radar cross sections because it is a large part of its hull is made of composite materials, and a lot of radar absorbent coatings have been put. Consequently, this radar cross section is extremely low, so that's why it is stealthy. It also has an enormous weapon complement. It has actually Barak missiles, and it has 8 BrahMos in surface-to-surface missiles, which are the best missiles of its kind as far as anti-ship missiles are concerned in the world. So it's a formidable package. It has a very good sensors. It has got very good radars. But what is exemplary is that it is completely designed in-house, built at 2 different shipyards. And for the first time, India is going in for modular construction. Earlier, we used to launch a hull and then outfit it. But here, each module is being fitted separately and then being integrated. So it's a modular construction. It is for the first time that we are doing it. And consequently, the pace of the commissioning will be faster. The ship will get commissioned faster than it used to be in the past. And this being the 7th and the last ship of the series, it's a big achievement as far as Indian Navy is concerned.
Okay, Mr. Banerjee, when one takes a look at the power dynamics, especially in the Indian Ocean region, do you see, this particular concerted effort that the Indian Navy is making, especially when it comes to increasing its footprint?
One, we are catching up with China. China's Navy expected to go to around 400 warships in the next 2, 3, 4 years. Their pace of construction is much faster. They have deeper pockets, but we are surely catching up in terms of firepower, in terms of newer ships, in terms of surveillance. Our surveillance and anti-submarine capabilities are very high, much higher than China at the moment. But it will take some time. Viewers must understand that we have just started making our own warships in the past 2 decades or so. It will take some time to catch up, and I think we're on the right path.
Okay. Mr. Bansal, when one takes a look at India's defense industry in particular, how strongly are we moving, not only in fulfilling our own demands, but also helping other countries, especially when it comes to defense needs and wants?
See, India's defense industry is growing by leaps and bounds. And when we talk of India's defense industry and indigenization, Indian Navy has a firm start as compared to the other two services. In fact, the first indigenous frigate was commissioned in 1973, way back when INS Nilgiri was commissioned. So it's been almost 5 decades. Subsequently, we built up the design capabilities. And now, as Ajay rightly brought out, the pace of ships that are being launched has expedited immensely. And there is no doubt that as on date, we are the largest littoral navy in Indian Ocean region. And while in numbers, we may be smaller than Chinese Navy or the PLA Navy, but in Indian Ocean, we are more than a match for them. And PLA Navy knows that they cannot match Indian Navy in Indian Ocean. And Indian Navy is undoubtedly the most potent littoral navy in the Indian Ocean region. And we have been providing support and assistance to all the countries of the regions. Firstly, because the countries of the region consider India as a benign power. And secondly, they appreciate the capacity and capabilities of the Indian Navy. Okay. Now, of course, we are also giving platforms to other countries, friendly countries like Mauritius, etc. We have given it to Maldives, Mauritius, Seychelles, etc.
Mr. Banerjee, when one takes a look at the defense exports target that we have set for 5 billion, do you see that possible, achievable next year?
Well, COVID did put us a setback for a couple of years. I think we have done around 17,000 crores of exports in the last fiscal ending March 31st, 2023. And the target, the defense minister has very categorically said that we are trying for 5 billion by 2026. I reckon if not 5 billion, we will at least go to around 25,000, 30,000 crores. We will be there by that time in another 2 years, because some big tickets are on the cards, because we have made a sale to Philippines of the BrahMos, and also some of the countries are interested in the BrahMos and also the Tejas fighter jet, which will be also important in adding the numbers to the exports.
Okay, so the time is ripe for us to get out of the slumber. Thank you and appreciate you joining us this evening here on DD India News Hour.
Thank you.
Well, also a quick thank you to Captain Alok Bansal for taking time out to join us and explain this particular achievement that India has made. Thank you. Appreciate your joining this evening. Well, moving forward, the National Council of Educational Research and Training, NCRT, marked its annual Foundation Day on the 1st of September, celebrating its unwavering commitment to shaping India's education landscape through research, curriculum development and educational resources.
लेकिन उनको जब एक यूनिवर्सिटी की दर्जा दिया जाएगा, इनकी क्वालिटेटिव नेटवर्क बढ़ जाएगी, नेटवर्क भी बढ़ जाएगी। एक यूनिवर्सिटी के नाते ये देश के अंदर और दुनिया की अच्छी इंस्टीट्यूशंस के साथ एकेडमिक कोलैबोरेशन कर सकते हैं, टाई अप कर सकते हैं और ग्लोबल इकोसिस्टम में भी ये कंट्रीब्यूट कर सकते हैं।
US President Joe Biden is seeking an additional $4 billion for the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Disaster Relief Fund in the wake of Hurricane Idalia. The administration's extra request brings the total package, which needs to be passed by Congress, to $16 billion. Hurricane Idalia, which made a landfall on Florida's Gulf Coast on Wednesday, has now moved on from the United States mainland, but across the country's southeast, tens of thousands of people still remain without power, with the storm submerging neighborhoods and leaving a trail of destruction in her wake. Benji Haya has more.
President Biden, who spent Thursday at FEMA's headquarters here in Washington, D.C., promises to do whatever it takes to get affected areas back up and running. And he's calling on lawmakers to pass this funding to deal with the immediate crises, as he calls them, namely Hurricane Idalia, as well as other recent natural disasters, including, of course, those devastating wildfires in Hawaii. We need this disaster relief met, he insists, and we need to do it in September. It can't wait. Mr. Biden seems unafraid to blame political opponents if that money doesn't get approved. I'm hoping, he says, that there's greater maturity to prevent that from happening. He also stressed it's impossible to deny the impact that climate change is having on our planet. The president's travelling to Florida on Saturday to witness that impact firsthand. It's there that he'll see homes ripped apart, roads littered with debris. The sights in the aftermath of this now tropical storm were at times surreal. Eels swimming through eerie residential streets. And look, this was the strongest storm to hit this part of Florida in more than 100 years. But the thing is, its path may have helped spare a much worse outcome. Idalia avoided heavily populated areas. Most locals heeded warnings to evacuate in time. It means only a handful of deaths have so far been linked directly to the hurricane. Even so, whilst residents for the most part escaped with their lives, many have lost their livelihoods as extreme weather continues to plague the United States. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
Well, still to come on DD India News Hour. Defending US Open champion Carlos Alcaraz passes first real test at the final Grand Slam of the year. Can Kylian Mbappe lead PSG out of the group of death in the UEFA Champions League? Super Typhoon Saola has brought most of Hong Kong and southern China to a standstill. Flights have been cancelled and businesses shut. Weather officials have issued the highest warning for the hurricane, something not seen since 2018. Andrew Wood is reporting from Hong Kong as the city-state hunkers down.
Typhoon Saola is still a super typhoon in the eyes of the Hong Kong Meteorological Observatory. That means that there are winds of hurricane force. The center of the storm is only just about 70 kilometers away from Hong Kong. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled out of Hong Kong airport. The public transport has just about closed down. Schools were closed ages ago. There are reports of a few people being taken to hospital with injuries. No reports of deaths so far. It's expected there will be bad flooding overnight. In one part of Hong Kong, the storm surge is expected to be an extra 3 meters on top of the normal high tide. Now, I know that people might think of Hong Kong as being full of skyscrapers and full of steep hills, but there are actually a lot of low-lying areas, sometimes quite poor areas away from the centre of Hong Kong, and there will probably be very bad flooding there. Hong Kong has opened, I think, around about 40 refuges for people to shelter in from the typhoon. People seem to be using them quite enthusiastically. I don't think it's going to get particularly better over the next 24 hours. And although this typhoon, the next typhoon, will probably miss Hong Kong, there is another typhoon out in the Pacific Ocean that's gathering speed and is heading towards the coast of China and will probably get there around about Sunday or Monday as well. In Hong Kong, I'm Andrew Wood reporting for DD India.
Well, you're watching DD India News. Our time now for sports updates. Starting first up with India-Pakistan. India versus Pakistan can be billed as the El Clasico of cricket. The two cricketing giants meeting on the cricketing field is just not about cricket, but high on emotion too. Stats do not matter in the Super Sunday clash, but what matters is the team that keeps its head on its shoulders will come out the winner in such a high-voltage contest. The two teams will clash not once or twice, but the fans can look forward to 3 clashes between the two sides in the 2023 edition of Asia Cup. As the much-awaited game between the two arch-rivals come near, clouds have cast a grim shadow on the match in Palakkal in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's Department of Meteorology has issued a rain red alert for a major part of the island, including Kandy, which is slated to host the clash. If the rain does not impact the game, fans will hope for an exciting, scintillating game of cricket. Pakistan is coming off a victory over Nepal, 238-run win, which will boost their confidence, while India will come into the game with one eye towards the World Cup.
India and Pakistan will renew their rivalry on Saturday when both the teams take on each other in a high-voltage clash in the third match of the Asia Cup in Kandy in Sri Lanka. India have played a lot of cricket heading into the Asia Cup. Rohit Sharma will lead the 18-member squad, with Sanju Samson being named as the travelling reserve. Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli's return bolstered the batting lineup. Both had a good rest while India played the T20 series against West Indies and Ireland. Jasprit Bumrah is also fit and back to lead the bowling attack. Prasidh Krishna is also back in the side after a long injury layoff. Mohammad Shami and Mohammad Siraj provide a lot of variety to the bowling attack. Kuldeep Yadav, the specialist spinner. Having chosen a full-strength squad, the Indian side is confident with the top order having shown consistent performances in the recent times. India will have the problem of choosing their best 11 given the condition they will be playing in. The battle will be between the Indian batters against the Pakistan pacers. India last played the T20 series against Ireland, which they won 2-0. Pakistan, on the other hand, started their Asia Cup by dismantling Nepal in the first match by mammoth 238 runs. Babar Azam is in supreme touch as he hit his 19th ODI turn. Pakistan recently played an ODI series against Afghanistan in which they clean swept them 3-0. Pakistan bowling is their strongest area and they can cause a lot of problems to India's batting-heavy lineup. Looking at the head-to-head record of India and Pakistan in the ODI Asia Cup, both the teams have clashed 13 times, with India having the upper hand with 7 wins, while Pakistan prevailed in 5 matches, with 1 match ending in no result. In the last 5 matches between both the teams at the ODI Asia Cup, India took supremacy with 4 wins, while they lost the only battle in 2014 by 1 wicket. India beat Pakistan by 9 wickets when both the sides met last time in the ODI Asia Cup. The two sides last played an ODI 4 years ago when they faced each other at the ICC World Cup in 2019, where India defeated Pakistan by 89 runs. Pakistan and India have given a lot of thrillers, and another battle is ready to unfold. Both the teams are placed in Group A along with Nepal. In Group B, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Afghanistan are placed. The top 2 teams in each group move on to the Super Fours, where they will play each other. If India and Pakistan end as the table toppers, they will clash again on the 10th September at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Narayan Singh for DD India.
Well, DD India correspondent Dr. Ahmed Farooqi joining us from Colombo. Ahmed, how do you look at the weather conditions there in the first place? You know, that's the big question. Leave aside the game, the weather there. Updates that it's good and the weather is holding well for the two teams?
For today, as of the information that I've received from Kandy and Palikale, is that not much of rain impacted the region as such.
Okay.
There's a possibility that rain may impact tomorrow early morning till the mid-noon. That may cause a delay in the start of the game as such. The Department of Meteorology in Sri Lanka has continued the red alert, which they had issued for today, for tomorrow as well. So there's a possibility that there will be showers which will probably impact the game. However, there is still a possibility that the game can be curtailed and a minimum of 20 overs for each innings can be played. So right now, it's really difficult to say if the rain would impact tomorrow by the time the game starts or not, because in the second game, that is Sri Lanka versus Bangladesh, there was an alert with regard to the rain's possibility, but barring for a minor interruption, there wasn't much rain. So there is a possibility that same thing might happen tomorrow as well, and we could watch a full 50 over a side game and complete 100 overs being bowled. So you never know. You can wait and watch for tomorrow.
Well, you never know what can happen in cricket, especially when it's India, Pakistan. I would have loved to ask you another question, but my director has very clearly told me there's paucity of time. Thank you. Appreciate you joining us this evening on DD India News Hour. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anil Thomas. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.